Hey, Noah, what does the fox say? Ring, ding, 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 a ding, a ding. Ring, ding, 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 a ding, a ding. Mr. Ring a ding. Ring, ding, 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 a ding, a ding. Ding, 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 ding. Hi, I'm Derek. That's Noah, and welcome to A Bite Of, where we are doing double duty, and this time we're talking about episode 2 of Doctor Who Season 2.
What are we doing anymore?
I don't even know. I feel like I'm two different people. Who am I? I'm Doctor Who. I'm the last of us. It's all very confusing.
Yeah. Second episode of Doctor Who. We're not doing spoiler-free episodes of Doctor Who anymore, just because that's very hard for us to do. And I think being able to talk about the full thing gives us a better review and also discussion. So we want to talk to you guys about it, not hide things.
Yeah, it's what's more frustrating as a listener than being like, well, but what are the details?
Yeah.
What happened?
So this will be a fully spoiled second episode of Doctor Who. But before we get into everything, make sure you're following us on all your social media platform of choice, your podcast platform of choice, YouTube. You can see our pretty faces on Spotify and YouTube.
I have a new hat.
Yeah. And we will be changing the podcast setup at some point coming soon. So you can see it there.
Be patient, children.
Yes. So spoilers ahead for Lux.
How many times are we going to say Lux in this episode? Because let us officially take a bite of Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 2, Lux, written by Russell T. Davies and directed by Amanda Brochi. The Doctor and Belinda land in Miami, Florida in the 50s, where they learn that a group of moviegoers mysteriously disappeared from the now locked-up movie house. Upon investigation, they find a cartoon character come to life, Mr. Ring-a-Ding, whose smile lights up a room and hides an evil secret. I'm just like Alan Cumming.
I didn't realize there would be this much singing in this episode.
You know what? I actually think there should be more singing in the episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, well, it's been a while. It's a welcome change.
Mm-hmm.
We used to get all the time because you used to sing a lot more in our episodes. We would get many a comment of, I really enjoy Derek singing.
Where has the music gone?
Now it's too much now. Okay, so general thoughts. Let's what do we think? What do we think about this episode?
I always think that this is, I don't know what it is about an episode like this that feels very much like a second episode, right? It's like a little lighter. It moves the plot along just a little bit and leaves us with some more questions. So I think in that essence, I think it did a good job of what a second episode does.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is what I want from a Russell T. Davies coming back revival. Experimenting with things and doing things that Who has never done before. I mean, we get an animated character in this, right? In the real world. So it's very Roger Rabbit, but like, I would have never thought we'd get this in Doctor Who. Definitely 20 years ago, I don't think this would have worked as well. So this is very exciting to have. I really liked this episode. I think 2/3 of it really worked for me. And then we'll get into the third part that didn't really work for me. But I think it was a weird sequel to, or I guess a parallel to Devil's Cord.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar in a lot of ways. I don't know if this is intentional. Is that part of me, like theory wise, wants to be like, what is going on? Like there has to be like a kind of enshooty mystery or thing that's happening. And I'm not sure what it is. I know that's Pantheon and we have all that, but I don't know. There's just something odd about these episodes paralleling each other.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a parallel in the sense that they both deal with some sort of artistic media, right? So in The Devil's Court, obviously it's music. In this one, it's cinema and movies. And I also think that there were some interesting details that were dropped here as far as, Belinda tells us about her parents in this episode, and they're both very musical in some way, right? So we're still seeing
Maestro.
Right, exactly. But we're still seeing like this mention of music a lot and what that means. So I think that there's definitely some interesting parallels here. And of course, with the appearance of Lux, we have another Pantheon member. But I do think there are some parallels.
Well, even with them going to a specific time period, getting changed kind of in a similar way. I don't know if that's just going to be a thing that happens. Like they go up the ramp and then they come out the other part and they're changed, which I don't mind, but again, it's the second episode. It's interesting. Keep your eyes peeled for weird things that are happening.
I did also, I was thinking about that comment that you said of every time there's a new companion, we have to kind of learn the steps again and the rules of the world. And I felt like we had a lot of that repetition in this episode, right? Of him telling her where he's from and how he's the last one and that they have to get changed. And then they, like you said, run up the ramp. And it was kind of like a lot of similar beats, I think, that we've seen already.
Yeah. Well, this is right off of the heels of the first episode, right? Because they got into the TARDIS. They tried to go to May the 24th. They couldn't. They're bouncing back. So she's still in her same outfit. So this is right immediately after that. So they don't really know each other. And that is one of the things, right? It's like us as audience members, like we're going to hear this thing again. But I think it's always interesting of how much he's going to reveal and when he reveals it, because he doesn't really reveal a lot of who he is or he's from Gallifrey and stuff like that until there's a big emotional part, right? Until he has to become 3D, give himself more depth. But I did like the comment of when he said, where he was insinuating where he was from, and Belinda was like, Time Lordia? Like, that could have worked.
Yeah, I think so. And I think this episode, the beginning of it is setting up more of our overarching plot, which is trying to get Belinda back to May 24th, 2025, right? So this starts with him creating this thing called a Vindicator, which is going to act as sort of an anchor and pull them towards that point in time, but they have to make stops along the way.
Like a fishing line.
Yes, exactly. I mean, did that work for you, the introduction of this new thing?
It's fine. I would be surprised if it comes back, but I would be not surprised if it doesn't. That's the thing with Doctor Who. It's like he's just going to make this gadget or this thing and it will work, and then we'll never see it again. It's just like a thing. Yeah.
It was funny because he built it. They brought it outside when they landed in Miami, and then he threw it back in the TARDIS. Man. And that was it. Like,
well, this episode does a really good thing. So along with the overall, like, trying to get her back and they can't get her back right, the Doctor is trying to keep Belinda with him. She has a mystery. He can't help himself. Just like here, there's a mystery with the theater being locked up and a bunch of people went missing at once. Can't help himself. He convinces her and not manipulates, but kind of manipulates her into staying there, even though they got what they needed from the Vindicator and they could have left. So what I like about Nshuti's Doctor is that we're always thinking that he's always going to be big and nice and always open. But there's moments where he's hiding things and he's manipulating. And that's the part of the Doctor that's scary, because he can do that. And that it mirrors a little bit to the end of the first episode, where Belinda calls him out and he thought he could have manipulated her. Or like, oh, I just took your DNA, I scanned you, it's fine. And she's like, that's not okay. And there's a look he gives where he's just like, oh, okay. So she's going to push back at me. So I thought it was interesting that he used humor. He tried a different way, not to manipulate her, but to keep her there. And it worked with this Scooby-Doo comment,
I think this Doctor, that the manipulation side is really scary, but I also think that there's a part of this Doctor that's just so sad and lonely that he's willing to kind of do whatever he can. I mean, not in a very evil way, but just to keep someone close to him. He, as we know, all these doctors, they always lose people in their lives. People are always disappearing from them. And so
Sasha 55.
Yes, exactly. I mean, 6 months, he was so attached and then she died right away. So I think that this Doctor is always trying to just keep people with him because he doesn't want to be alone. But there's almost a piece of him that can't admit that he feels lonely.
I'm loving that you're picking up on this, right? Because this is going to be like the second time that you're really watching Doctor Who, aside from the ones that I've made you watch, like Blink. But that is the Doctor. Like, this is the things that make the Doctor who the Doctor is. And they are very lonely. They're the last of their people. Granted, in some storylines, these people have come back, but then he's lost them again. But it's always like, is the Doctor doing this for themselves? Is the Doctor doing it to actually help? Which, yes, the Doctor is always helping. But there's always the thing of they need to confront the reality of what they're doing to the people that he allows in the TARDIS, or they allow in the TARDIS. So I love that you're picking up on that. That's amazing.
I'm looking at it with intention.
But I am interested to see because there is a mystery of Belinda, but how far is that going to go? Because I think in the first episode when we were talking about it, I think it's going to work as long as she doesn't constantly blame him, which after this, I don't think that she's going to blame him for not taking her back. But I think that she's always going to be wary of like, are we actually doing the goal or are we having fun? So there's always this trust that the companions have to give to the doctor where they're pushing buttons and turning things and I don't know, making noises. I guess we're doing what we need to do.
The thing is shaking, so that must mean something.
Hardly any companion knows how to fly the TARDIS, and that's probably on purpose.
There needs to be a manual for them, I think. Something to let them know, have them a little more control of the situation. But, I wonder if towards the end of the season, there's going to be some discovery of where she is going to realize that maybe they could have gone straight back and they didn't need to make all these stops, and she'll be mad because one of the things that I had pointed out in episode 1 was that I liked that she was pushing back against him and that she wasn't just the happy-go-lucky companion who was willing to go on these adventures. And I felt like, man, that really subsided quickly because like you said, this takes place immediately after the first episode. And already he's like, well, we're here. You might as well put on a pretty dress. And she's like, oh, okay, that sounds like fun.
Well, I think there is that bit of charm, right? I'm time traveling. Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I do want to see it a little bit. And also outfits, like, sure. So that's part of the thing that manipulates the companion a little bit, even if they're reluctant of like, yo, when else will you be in the 50s in Miami?
True. But you know what they say about curiosity? It sure did kill the cat.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I do think Belinda is going to realize something, or she will always have that of like, no, we need to do the job. Because in this episode, she does it a little bit. So they get out of the TARDIS and she's like, cool, okay, let's go. And he's like, but there's like literally a like caretaker with a creepy theater. And she's like, okay, Velma, let's go. So I think she'll play along, but how far will it go? Because the next episode I don't even think it takes place on Earth. It might take place on Earth, but like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how far along they go with it. But so let's go to Miami, right? 1950s Miami. What did you feel about this set? Because it all takes place in one area, which I always love when Doctor Who does that. It's like they built the set, we're staying.
Yeah, I like that. It had very much that feeling of like, this is a set of a place in time. Right. It was like perfectly curated for that same time. There's a 50s diner, there's a 50s movie house, and there's a street. Okay. And that's all you need to know. But I think that what Doctor Who does is that, especially with our pair, they put them in a place and time where it could be uncomfortable for them. So it's almost lucky for them that it's in the middle of the night. Right, because segregation exists in 1952 Miami, and Miami has a history with segregation. There were literal walls built to separate Black people from white people, the two communities, and those walls still exist in Miami. So it's something that is there as a reminder of our very sad past in this country. Hopefully it stays very sad past. But I think that it does a good job of reminding them that people who lived in this time weren't able to be as free as maybe they are now.
This kind of story I was interested in if they were going to touch on, because this is the first like TARDIS team with people of color, like exclusively with people of color, which is crazy to think in this long period of time that we've had. The people of color that have been in the TARDIS is very, very slim. But so to have that, and then also in the first season with Nshuti, and then the season prior with Jodie Whittaker, so being a woman and now being a Black queer man, were those stories going to be confronted? And I like that the Doctor is confronted with that of like, oh, I've never had to like feel that way, feel like I wasn't welcome somewhere, or because I was always a white man, So having a story like this and then making sure it's like, no, this was the time period, like this is what happens. And I like that we're kind of like in Belinda's shoes of like, oh, what do you mean? Like, what oh, there's segregation. Like, oh, I thought I was in this fantasy, right? It's like, no, this is still real.
Right.
Even the diner being segregated, but I like that Tommy Lee's mom was like, I'll talk to him.
Yeah. It's interesting because There's also a moment there where Belinda is obviously and obviously should be upset about this revelation, but the doctor's like, all right, well, I've conquered worlds. I've been in wars. This is the least of my trouble.
Yeah, he says something along the lines of, I've toppled worlds. Sometimes I wait for people to topple them. Till then, I just shine. So good. I mean, it's unfortunate, right? But it's like, I think that's very much saying like, this is something that happens in this time, you know. Until then, I'm going to do what I can.
Yeah. Welcome to the universes.
Yeah.
It's bad.
And I did like the line that he added where he's talking about the segregation. And he's like, and that includes you.
Yes.
He's like, you know, it's black people and white people. It's like, but you're included in that because you're just not white.
Right.
Which I think is important whenever you're doing a story like this to be like, yeah, this is how insanely racist this time period was.
Yeah.
That kind of carries over when they go into the movie theater, right? And it's like, I know this is a segregated space, but like, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
You know?
I also think that by landing in 1952 Miami, there's also another storyline here that's spoken about very quickly, is that when they're looking at the movie sign, it's a Rock Hudson movie. It's a movie that they made up. It's not a real Rock Hudson movie, but
I was going to ask. I was like, I don't think that's a real...
No, they just did it so that the letters could fall off and it could spell Harbinger.
Because I was going to be like, great, they picked the one Rock Hudson one where it's spelled Harbinger.
Yeah, but well, as maybe if you don't know, Rock Hudson was a very famous heartthrob actor from the 50s and 60s and even into the 70s. And he was a closeted gay man and unfortunately died of AIDS. And so they have a little conversation about that where Belinda says, yeah, we studied him when I was in my nursing program. And so, again, this is a commentary on how being gay was something that wasn't accepted, even if you were a Hollywood star, and how the people around you would keep those secrets for you. And so, as we know, this is a queer doctor. And he even asks Belinda, he says, do you have anyone at home? And there's nothing specified, but it's an open thing of not being like, well, do you have a boyfriend? It's just, do you have someone at home?
Right. Or like, who's your mom and dad? Like putting genders to the parents, which again, they're always conscious of that. And I did like that Belinda could make that connection with Rock Hudson and be like, oh yeah, he was mentioned in our AIDS prevention course when I was studying. These details, while they're sad and they're things that have happened, but I like that they're making the world again feel real because these are real things and reminding you that like this isn't like an alternate timeline. This is our timeline.
And it's also like, how uncomfortable can we make the doctor? How many of his identities can we just oppress in this moment?
Not in this one street.
Yeah, exactly.
One tiny street.
Oh boy.
But I do want to shout out before we like move on from the diner person. I didn't catch their name. I don't really know if they had a name. But Queen spilling the tea.
Yes.
Loved.
Maybe Lucas?
That does sound familiar.
Right? He was great. He was up in all the business. He knew everything. He had the tea. He was like, girl, you got to get in there because Reginald's in there, baby.
Okay, let's talk about the animated elephant in the room. Okay, so Ring-a-Ding. So good. Everything about this character, from Alan Cumming doing amazing singing and voice work, which is like, it's funny to think like, this is Alan Cumming. There's very few words whenever they were talking where I was like, this is Alan Cumming, because they do such a good job of disguising their voice and embodying this character. But what did you think of Ring-a-Ding? It was like creepy. Did the animation work for you?
I loved Mr. Ring-a-Ding. I thought, and like you said, Alan Cumming's portrayal is amazing. I'm so, we've been recently watching him in The Traitors, which is such a different type of character that he's playing. And, and he says, that's not really me. That's the character.
Is it though?
He says, I'm playing that very, turned up Alan for The Traitors. And so this is so in the other direction. And I loved this idea of Mr. Ring-a-Ding, taking this, wholesome character and then making him evil. I kept trying to picture in my head, what would it be like to see an animated character with me? So that would definitely be something creepy.
I think it's it's hard to imagine, right? Because it's 2D, but whatever perspective you're at, you're seeing that flat 2D part. I don't know. Like, I mean, we can see it in movies, but I think trying to actually picture it, I don't know. Like, it's like, I know this is a 3D space. I can't fathom like a 2D thing. So I do think they did a really good job. It looked amazing. I wish there was more animation part. Even whenever they get captured and put into the film, I wish there was just more of the animation. Like, it made me think like an animated Doctor Who show could be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind it. I'd totally be down for it.
Now, would you want it to be an adult tone animated show or a kids toned animated show?
Keep the same tone. I mean, it could lean more Torchwood, which Torchwood was very much like the Buffy-ish feel, where it still felt innocent, but like it was a little more sexy, a little more edge. So like I could deal with that, but I don't want it to be like adult, you know?
Right.
That would just completely lose the feeling of Doctor Who. But I thought the introduction to Ring-a-Ding was really creepy. The tap dancing, that freaked me out. But then I started losing it a little bit. I think the story with Reginald and him having to be there to feed Lux with movies and stuff like that because of his wife, because Lux brought his wife back, I thought that was really compelling and I really liked that. And those are the short little tiny moments of Doctor Who where it's like, you really made me feel for this character in like 2 seconds. But I think Lux as a character, this episode felt too short. It felt too short in the way of like, it could have had a second part. Like, we have a new Pantheon member, right? And if you look at between the Devil's Cord and Lux, while they're both very inventive and unique, had great casts, I think Devil's Cord did more of fleshing out who that Pantheon member was and really doing a start to finish, right? And being like, ooh, maybe we'll see him again. This one, it almost just felt easy. It felt too quick, and Lux really wasn't in it too much. So like, I liked it, but I wanted more, or just like not as like confusing or convoluted of an explanation, but easy.
Well, it's funny because I had the opposite thought. I thought this could have been shorter. And maybe if it was shorter, then it could have been 2 parts, because sometimes in a Doctor Who episode, there's just one too many ingredients and it ruins it, right? It becomes too salty or too sweet or whatever. And it's just like you said, it lost me. It was like, I think we needed to just stay in the film, right? Rather than, although that there was that fun fourth wall break where they're with those fans on the outside and they learn that they're a TV show, it felt like, why is this happening? Other than them telling them how to defeat Lux, like they could have figured that out on their own.
Well, this episode is interesting in itself because we saw photos of this episode. This is there. I think there's a shot with the Doctor and Belinda. It was released during the first season where they're running away from the theater and you could see Lux. And that's how we knew that Verada was coming back and going to be a companion. So like we knew this episode was happening, and there was like hints and rumors and I think intentional leaks of like the Doctor's in a TV show. And I think it's all just kind of like leading to this. But again, yeah, it was just too much. It was almost too much in one episode, but also like, I'm confused if there was a harbinger with Lux. I think Lux itself just confused me on like, okay, you're the god of light, but like, what does that mean? Like, why were you only at night? Was it because then you would be everything and anything? But if you're the god of light, how are you not during the day? I just think like, I don't know. Like, I need more. Maybe they'll come back, which I hope they do, because the Pantheon, I would assume, would come back in some way. But yeah, it was a lot.
I think that they really could have leaned into that Scooby-Doo aspect of the episode, kept them animated, and then have like animated violence fighting, right? Figure out how to fight Lux as a cartoon character, like big hammer out of the pocket, bash him over the head, things like that.
The only time that the Doctor actually does violence is just cartoon
violence, right? I think that is the direction they should have gone in. Really make it a Scooby-Doo episode. That would have been really fun.
Yeah. What did you think about the Doctor Who fan part?
I mean, I thought it was kind of true to life, right? Of people being obsessed with the show and loving Blink. Blink is the only episode anyone remembers. And I thought that was funny, but it kind of was like, I thought it was clever, but then it was like they weren't real, but then they were real. So is Doctor Who in his universe really a TV show, or is he not a TV show?
I almost wish that, like, I did like the scene of the Who fans and our companion and Doctor with the Doctor Who logo on the TV. I thought that was a really like wild image to see as like a longtime fan of the show. I almost wish because it was our logo, I wish they would have like used a fake in-universe logo because it almost took me out because it was too meta, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, I think it was, okay, let me try to like put this into thoughts. I think the mocking of fans in a fun way was fun, but then it flipped a little quickly. And then it was like, don't you know the ending? I don't know. It just like felt, are you guys trying to be cheeky or like, but there's a story part to this. So it was really quick.
And it also did one of those things that I personally have trouble with Doctor Who, where it tried to make us cry over these characters who we'd never met before, who we literally only know for 3 minutes.
Well, also it's like supposed to be us, but like you made fun of me.
Yeah.
In the first bit of it, which is fine. I don't mind because, yeah, we're the worst and like RIP Doctor Who. But I'm not on that side. But yeah, I think that them trying to make us feel bad, I'm like, no. Like that one, I just kind of was like, it's fine. It didn't really work for me, like being sad about them. I do think that them all saying blank is hilarious, but a true Doctor Who fan would have said something like Heaven Sent or Waters of Mars or Girl in the Fireplace. You know, like.
So he's saying they're fake. They're fake fans.
They're fake fans, which I think blank is always at the top of everybody's list, but like, really? Real fans? I did think it was kind of, when the Doctor, and I don't know if it's just because it's this Doctor, but when they were saying what their favorite episode was, the Doctor was only saying Ncuti episodes, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you're not mentioning Heaven Sent. You know what I mean? Like, you could have mentioned any other ones, but it's like, what about the one on the bomb? What about this one? I was like, oh, weird.
I think it's this Doctor's pride of being like, why are my episodes not your favorite?
But yeah, I think that's what it was. But I was just more like,
And then how did he know that those are the episodes? Because we always talk about the adventures in between the episodes, but he only mentioned episodes.
Don't think about it too much.
It's all starting to fall apart.
Yeah. But I thought it was fun. I think them trying to figure out how to get out of the film was really fun. Pulling the frames, stopping the frames. This is coming out right around Easter, so I think there was very much like an Easter part in this episode where you have the Doctor literally strung up like this, light coming through them.
Jesus.
You have Tommy Lee's mom saying like, it's been 3 months, so instead of 3 days, 3 months, he came back. I'm like,
So he is our God.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. Yeah. I think Lex Imperator getting defeated with being like consumed by a bunch of light was fine. I think the imagery was really cool, just seeing like Ring-a-Ding get bigger and bigger and bigger until they're everywhere and anywhere, literally becoming a god. I thought was fine. I thought that was a very like Doctor Who thing to do, but yeah, it just makes me wonder. I'm like, this could have been 2 episodes. Like the shortening of the season themselves and also the episodes, I'm feeling it a little bit in some of these particular stories, but maybe we'll see them again at the end of the season. I don't know who the big bad is for this, but yeah, I could see the toy maker or Maestro coming back. I'd love that, honestly.
Well, I mean, speaking of the big bad and someone that we saw again, who is in 1952 Miami, Mrs. Flood.
Yeah, and she was like, hey, you guys want to see a real show? Look at this. She's freaking me out, man. She's always everywhere. She's always, I don't know. She's always there at the end of the thing. Always being like, hey, guys. We're like, I can't figure her out. I have no idea. I think Susan Twist was like, this is weird. Why are we always seeing her? But Mrs. Flood is doing the same exact thing, but like in a weird, bigger way.
Well, it's like Susan Twist was a different
version of her
being in that universe, where this is the same Mrs. Flood. And now we know that she can travel through time, much like a TARDIS can. Is she hanging on it like Sutek?
Part of me thinks that she's attached to the TARDIS in some way. Like she has to be, because how is she there? And also if she did say something like it all ends on the 24th of May. So we have a date, right? Like that's the big thing that's happening. I don't know. It would make it seem like she's attached to the TARDIS in some way. The TARDIS has been sentient in some stories, but I don't think they'll go that route. I don't know.
Is
maybe
she some sort of time god or something like that?
she has to be. She has to be some Pantheon member or some Time Lord of some sort, but I don't know.
I mean, and with that phrase that she says, is it possible that Belinda can't get back to that date because she doesn't make it to that date? She dies before that date, and that's a reason why?
Maybe.
I mean, has there ever, not that you might not know this, but has there ever been a time where the Doctor and his companion can't get back to a specific date?
I mean, no. Like, yes and no, not to this extent. Not to where it wasn't figured out in an episode, you know? So this is definitely like, I don't know why they can't get back there. Maybe because nothing exists, but then something has to exist past that date because we go to the future on Earth, you know? So I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's still early to tell what this possibly could be. But Mrs. Flood is, yeah, she's interesting. I'm still not sure. I think at the end of season 1 where we saw her in all white and everything, it's like, ooh, she's kind of resembling some old villains, but I think she's doing that on purpose. So I don't know. I think we're in for some more mysteries. The next one I'm quite excited for. The Well. So yeah. Let us know what you thought of Lux.
Yeah.
Did it work for you? Did it not work for you? What did you think of Ring-a-Ding?
I'm Mr. Ring. I also like his catchphrase, don't make me laugh.
Oh my, when the giggle, as soon as that happened, I went, so scary.
It was a fun character. I just think they didn't make the right choices with it.
Yeah, I wish Lex was in it more. And also it was like, I liked the Doctor Who explanation of like, by chance, the sunlight hit the spoon and then it hit the projector light and it gave life. I love that because it's like, yeah, it's Who, whatever.
Yeah,
that works.
That's fine.
Yeah. But let us know. Comment below.
Were you living for Lux? What do you think of our pair and their beautiful costumes? Bye.
I'm like, you can't leave them like that. Bye.